Sam, obviously a lot's been made of the tackling and the pressure for you guys last fortnight, but you really came out with an amazing attitude and effort, and pretty much it was a four-quarter thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a clear focus for us coming into the game of trying to create a game that would enable that. So part of it is player attitude, but part of it is the way we set up the game as well. So when you work together on those things and you prioritise them at the top of the list, you get that performance, which is going to give you much better chances to beat good teams, which the Bulldogs are.
I mean, heading to the end, the Dogs were number one team in the conference, 50 differential in scoring, but you smashed them pretty much in territory and kept them to the lowest score of the year. So must have been really proud of the team in that respect.
Yeah, really, really proud of the efforts of the boys. I think they had a really good understanding of the Bulldogs. They're dominant clearance team, dominant territory team, and to be able to take some of that away from them, I thought they did a fantastic job. I'm not sure exactly how the clearances ended up, but certainly the inside 50s were heavily skewed in our favour, and that gave us enough. We probably weren't as efficient as we have been going inside 50, but we locked it in there more. We got more pressure on in the front half, and that enabled a game that we thought would help us against the Dogs. And we've probably learned over the last couple of weeks is, still that real top end, we've got some work to do to get up to them. But when we look at the big picture of where we're at right now, where there's been a lot made of our last few weeks and been out of form, and we've lost 3 in a row and those things. But when I think we zoom out, we're sort of on the long-term trajectory that we want to be on, but we've still got work to do.
And that big picture, Sam, how important was tonight just to stare, and particularly the way you went about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we hadn't have won tonight, I think we could have, if we had have got run over at the end, for instance, I think I still would have thought of this game as closer to the way we want to play. I think we could have walked away from tonight proud of what we put out there, and sometimes you don't win the games that you play in the right manner. But even if we had have lost the game, I still think we showed tonight what our best can look like, and there was parts of our game that were really going to be really hard to combat. And can we do it consistently enough? That's the challenge for us. And we probably weren't as potent as we would have liked. I think we had close to 60 inside 50s, but could only put 81 points on the board, so there'll be a story there. But when you're keeping the highest scoring team in the competition to under 10 goals, I think there's something to hang your hat on.
Can you take us through Sam Butler's return to footy? Like 418 days, a lot's been made about that this week, but it's such a horrific broken leg and a new role. He looked good today.
Yeah, Butsy, I mean, he's a great story. He's a great young lad. He works enormously hard. He's probably had some doubts over this period. I think when you come back from a broken leg, for those who have ever experienced it personally or someone close to them, it's not a smooth process. It's not like a knee reconstruction where you just come back and there's a step-by-step process. A broken leg is a different beast, and some of the knocks and setbacks that he's had over that period is an enormous resilience builder for him. And I couldn't be so. I was just so proud of him to play AFL footy at all, let alone to perform in AFL footy. I think I thought he was really good tonight, and that was probably at the top range of what we thought he might be capable of. He's got a great engine, he's got a great work rate, he's a great tackler. But he's played 3 games as a midfielder in the last probably 5 years, so to get the response out of him, I hoped, but it was probably better than we thought, and I was absolutely rapt for him, and it's a story we should celebrate.
How do you see the battle between Norton and Battle? Like Dogs twice sort of dragged Josh up the ground a bit more, but didn't really seem to have the impact that they were hoping for.
Yeah, I think in the first quarter there was about 6 contests just between Norton and Barras, and I was thinking, well, they haven't had a lot of territory, the Dogs, but I'm really glad that we were able to halve all those and not let Norton have the influence that we know he's capable of. And then later in the game, it became Joshy Battle in that contest, and I think, I think Norton is just close, one of the best marks in the competition, and to be able to take that away from him for most of the night, not all of it. I thought he still had an influence on the game, but I think, Josh and Tom both had their moments that, I'm really pleased we were able to restrict them, because the Bulldogs, if you think about the way that they play, dominant midfield that win the clearance battle, and then they've got really strong marking options in front of the ball, and once they move lob forward, we were really tested in that area in the second half, but the boys stood up.
anything wrong with James Walker, or was that just a tactical sub?
No, he. I mean, I was actually. It's one of those things you wouldn't have seen unless you knew what had happened. But in about the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, he got a really nasty corky, and he tried so hard. He's actually. I mean, he was actually enormous for what he did for 2.5 quarters after that. But after half time, he couldn't warm up and he couldn't get going. But he was to even stay out there for that long. He did an amazing job. So when you go and watch it back, which I'm sure you will, Josh, the behind the goal stuff, he was trying so hard not to limp, but he battled away all night and did a great job for us. But it got the better of him halfway through the third, and we decided to make a change.
Following this up, Impey moved forward. How do you see his game overall?
Yeah, I mean, Jazzy is he's a really great, important player for us. He's a real energy giver, and I thought, I had a chat with, I thought once Warps looked, like he needed to get out of the game, we had to figure out what to do with the sub. So getting Chankworth into the game, we were probably pretty excited about, to be fair. It was a game that looked like it would suit him. So getting him in and figuring out we've got to move someone forward, and we thought a bit of small, a bit of smarts and a bit of speed would help us. So Jazzy hasn't done that for quite a while, but I thought he really gave us something. He's not just his running power and his aerial presence, which he's a great mark for his size, but I think his smarts and his vibrancy really created something in the front half. And I think he kicked one, and I think he created probably another two just with a bit of experience in the front half.
So is Waterland any doubt for Tassie?
Oh, it's a corky, so I don't think. I mean, I haven't spoken. I mean, not usually with that sort of thing, but it's just he's just got a thigh corky, so I wouldn't imagine, but I'm not sure.
Marbiol just said post-game with Fox that he wasn't a fan of Guinea holding the ball out or the goal in the goal square. Just wanted your thoughts on what you made of that.
Yeah, I have to see it.
He saw it.
Yeah.
Everyone saw it.
In the absence of James Sicily, Dylan Moore really stepped up as a leader. Can you tell us his influence on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about players and their weapons and their one wood or whatever you like to call them, superpowers some people call them. And I think Maury's, as funny as it sounds, he tries really hard all the time. And that sometimes is what you need. And I think tonight was a good example of that. I think if you watched us play, you would have to say that is what we looked like tonight. And that's what the best teams are able to do more often than their opposition. So Maury's a fantastic leader for us. What he does off the field is first class. And he's still reasonably young to be in the role that he is, and I think for him to be able to lead the boys tonight and get a win, I was rapt for him.
So Sam, would you like to expand on the Ginnivan situation?
Not really, no.
What was looked like the Cowboys coach Todd Payton was in your box tonight? I know they've got Storm tomorrow night, but what was he doing following you around?
Yeah, the boys were making a bit of a joke that I had him just to make sure that they tackled well, because if not, they might get tackled by him. But no, Todd and I have struck up a bit of a relationship, and we spent a bit of time together in the pre-season. I went and looked in their coach's box. They had a practice game against Storm in their pre-season down in Casey, and I just shadowed him for a day and just learned about how they go about things, what you can learn from other codes, and they've got the Storm tomorrow night, and so I had him along, and he came in the coach's box and was part of the preparation for the game and those things, and it was interesting. I'm looking forward to chatting with him about what he learnt, but more importantly for me, what he thinks that we could improve on, how we can do things better. He's got a fairly different demeanour to what I have, so learning from him is something that I've taken a lot of growth in my coaching from Todd, and looking forward to hearing what he thought about tonight.
Just back to the scoring stuff. I mean, Hardwick's job on Riley West. I mean, West has become one of the more dangerous small forwards in the comp, and Hardwick did a pretty good job on it.
Yeah, I think Dimmer, he's an important player for us. He is so reliable wherever he plays, and I think we decided tonight to go with the extra tall Max Ramsden. I thought really stood up, and that was I think it was his 5th game and his first win, so that was exciting for him. And what it meant is we went into the back line with Blake, and he hasn't played there permanently much this year, and we're still trying to figure out our best mix. But I think he's very reliable. Defensively he's obviously sound, but offensively probably a bit underrated in what he does for you with the ball.
Any of the boys that pulled out tonight, are you hoping they'll be available for next week, or all three?
Scrim's been carrying a bit of an ankle, which has been probably more annoying, but a bit inhibitive for his best footy. Nick, we would expect to be available. He was a bit too sick, so he had sort of the shakes and all that sort of stuff, which is not a great preparation. So we were deciding whether or not he could play on Saturday even for Vauxhall because it's 2 days later. But we've just he was pretty knocked around, so he'll continue to rest up and who's that on Sis? No, Sis won't be available. He'll be. We're hopeful for after the bye, but hasn't been any. We haven't tested that out at this stage. So
Let's take one more. Go on. Bevo said the Hawks were too good with the physical side of the game tonight. How do you take that forward?
That's a great question. That'll be I think that'll be the first question of the review. So, if the opposition coach says that we were too physical, that's a pretty good blueprint to win most games. So, that's certainly what we'll be attempting to do from this point on.